So today we're celebrating the one-year launch of Miami TechWorks and the Tech Talent Coalition, which is funded through the Economic Development Administration grant, which was a $10 million grant through Miami-Dade College, FIU, FMU, BrainStation, 4Geeks, and OIC. It's a huge investment into the tech talent ecosystem in South Florida. Very quickly, I want to introduce my counterpart, fellow leader in this ecosystem, who is going to talk about the wonderful things that she's doing. And I'm not going to steal her thunder, but I'm going to welcome up Chessie, who's going to share some.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Chessie de Quesada-Covey. I'm the Chief of Innovation and Economic Development for Miami-Dade County. On behalf of Mayor Levine Cava, Miami-Dade County's mayor, who is in Tallahassee today for Dade Days, welcome to the one-year anniversary of Miami TechWorks. It is not so seldom anymore, but it used to be more seldom that we would have these events to talk about everything that is happening in the community. And I am just in so much awe of the energy in this room and the opportunity to meet with all of you. And a lot of this work is driven because of the incredible leadership of Miami-Dade College, but especially Terry Ann Brown, who is a force of nature and who not only is able to galvanize the energy that is in this room, but is also able to articulate and amplify everything that we are doing here in Miami-Dade County in Washington, D.C. I just want to take a moment to say that last night I had the opportunity to meet with some of the folks that are evaluating Miami TechWorks for the EDA on the grant, and they could not be more consistent and congratulatory for Terry Ann's leadership. And we are really, really lucky to have her leading this. And so I know we did one round of applause, but just a second one to get us started for the day. Terry Ann, thank you so much. So my role in Miami-Dade County at Miami-Dade County is to help us think about our future-ready economy. And so that means three things. One, economic development. How do we build, grow, and scale companies that are here? Two, economic opportunity. How do we make sure that our residents have access to good paying careers and that they have the tools and resources that they need to access those good paying careers? And then three, economic innovation. So how do we make sure that as much as possible, we are constantly working with the private sector to stay ahead of what industry needs? Now, government is known to be a little bit slower than industry, but that is why we value partnerships like this, so that we can hear from all of you and make sure that we understand how to be as front-footed as possible. I know you all have a great event planned today. Please know that Miami-Dade County is your partner in all of the work that you are doing. We want to make sure that we are making resources available to you, from capital to more jobs fairs to amplification. So lean on us to make sure that we are telling your story as much as possible. And I just want to point out one person that's in the room that will be that just joined our team from Beacon Council, and that will be here today, James Comston. If you could stand up, please. He joined this week as the Director of Economic Development for Miami-Dade County after being at Beacon Council for 17 years, leading the process to get businesses down here and help them grow. We are delighted to have James here with us. It's day 3 for him, so make sure that you ask him all of the questions. And if you have any complaints, he's already taking them, so you can send them over to him too. But we're just delighted to have him here, and he'll make sure that he's connecting with all of you on the great work we're doing. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
So now I have the pleasure of kicking off the agenda officially. And that also brings me the opportunity to talk about how we got here, which is always where we start. And the Good Jobs Challenge grant is a $10 million cash infusion that, SIFE likes to say, it's your tax dollars at work. We were awarded this fund through the Biden administration back in 2022. And my role as the grant director is to figure out how do we strategically implement these dollars into the community through MDC, FIU, FMU, OIC of South Florida, and now we've added on Brain Station, 4Geeks, and then we'll talk about the other training providers that we're adding on. But it's more than that. We're also taking a look at what are the other areas in the community that need to ensure that the tech talent ecosystem can thrive, survive, and maintain. And we're always thinking about beyond the grant period, which ends September 2025, the problem of solving tech talent hiring is not going to go away. So there's always a sustainability perspective, right? And if Antonio was here, he'd be saying the reason that this is such a critical issue is because until we start getting everybody in the room and speaking, we will not have transparency as to what exactly are the issues. We needed employers, academic institutions, community-based organizations, all around the table being honest and open that what South Florida has in terms of assets, challenges, and opportunities, we really needed to start talking about them. And so that's what Miami Tech Works and that's what the Tech Talent Coalition is here to do. And that's what we have been doing over the last year through our working groups, through lots of qualitative conversations, through lots of one-on-one discussions. And we just want to continue that going into our next phase, which we're going to talk about a little bit later as well. So what I'm excited to report is on our grant progress. When you've got this much amount of federal dollars, you want to make sure that you're always reporting back in a responsible way. So it's myself, I've got my 3 project managers who you all I'm sure have met. We've got our database and reports analysts, and then we've got our grant coordinator. So our KPIs ultimately are that we train 1,000 people in technology jobs, and that we place 500 of those in good jobs. How we get there is through lots of data tracking, which we've got a data platform that we ask all of our partners to include this data. We also track any barriers to success, those wraparound services. You're going to hear a little bit later about what those wraparound services could include. To date, we have about 551 participants that we're tracking. We have about 137 of those that have completed training. And then what we know so far is that we've got 4 of them that have actually successfully been placed in jobs, and then we have 47 that have received internships. Thank you. But if somebody were to ask me what keeps me up at night, I'm like, oh my God, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Because what it reflects is that it's a really small sample size of what the pipeline actually is, right? We only have a few of our academic partners and a few of our training providers actually reflected in our grant. We know that there's a lot more out there because we're talking to them every day. We've got Barry University in the room. We have Northeastern, that's a part of our coalition. We have University of Miami. We're talking to FAU. We're talking to College of the Florida Keys. So through this Tech Talent Coalition, we know that there's so many assets that are working on solving the tech talent pipeline, but through the Good Jobs Challenge grant, we only have a few training providers. And so when I was preparing for this talk, I said, we've got to make sure, because we're very data-driven, we've got to make sure that we're looking closely at what the data is telling us. And I also want to make sure that we as South Florida, we are not influenced by a lot of national data. And so when the report comes out that, there's tech layoffs, and there's tech companies that are laying off 2,400, 3,000 people, how is that affecting us? Well, in the latest CompTIA Bureau of Labor Statistics report, it actually showed that in the last month, Miami increased its job postings in tech hiring. Now, where are those jobs? And how can we ensure that their tech talent will be able to land those jobs? So we can't be persuaded or be emotionally responsive to some of the national headlines. We need to stay focused on what's happening here regionally. So in terms of what's next for the Tech Talent Coalition and Miami Tech Works, One of our key outputs this next 6 months, I would say, is we're actually conducting a data gap analysis. And you're going to hear a little bit about that later too. But one of the key questions that we're going to ask is, what are the nature of the tech jobs? What does that pipeline look like? And where are the gaps between what's being posted by these employers and what's actually in the pipeline, and how can we bridge that gap? And you're going to hear that a lot, bridging the gap between what's happening with employers and what's happening with academic institutions. The other key output that we're looking at from the grant perspective is we want to make sure that there's that readiness level on both sides of the equation. We know that we've got talent, that academic institutions and training providers are working really hard to ensure that they're ready for that job. But we also know that we've got small businesses who are relying on capacity building. So the grant has technical assistance workshops where we've done the work of getting the subject matter experts. We know that we can deploy these technical assistance workshops. So you're going to start to see Miami TechWorks out and about with our partners, whether it's the Minority Business Council or the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, deploying workshops to help small businesses build capacity to hire tech talent, whether it's through internships, apprenticeships, or doing even smaller programs like micro internships or sprinterships. These all add value to employers to engage early and often with talent. And that's the key to building their capacity as well. And then on the talent side, you're going to see this quite often, the Venture Miami Hiring Fair. That's going to be one of our key outputs as well. Let's make sure that we can get talent ready for the hiring fair so that they know how to interview, so that they know how to prepare their LinkedIn, their job description. We're working on a two-sided marketplace, and the only way that we can ensure success is that both sides of the equation are ready. So I'm excited for what today is gonna hold. It's gonna be a lot of information sharing. You're also gonna hear from our chairs, the members of our coalition, and you're also gonna hear from my team, who all have a designated target area that they're supporting for the grant. So super excited, and I'm ready to get started. So.
We are so excited to convene the Miami Tech Talent Coalition through Miami-Dade College with all these companies looking for tech talent, all the academic institutions in Miami, all going for the same objective of helping our local community get the skills to get a job. And that's what happened here today. The whole Tech Talent Coalition meeting, convening, sharing what's happening, sharing the latest, the great opportunities that are coming, and more importantly, the good stories. Like, we're already doing the job. We're already getting the students with jobs. How can we elevate? How can we scale to make it for everyone and really accessible to high-paying jobs?
Welcome. Do we not live in the best city in the world? Just gonna say that before hurricane season starts, but the mango trees are flowering and I'm very excited for what's to come. So my name is Karen Lavernia. I get to serve as the facilitator for the Tech Talent Coalition through our very small, tiny business called Lab 22C. I'm thrilled to be here, and our founder is here somewhere. You'll find him. Saif is around somewhere. We are thrilled to support this effort. I think, before there was Tay and Travis, there was the Miami Tech Talent Coalition. And so many people who fell in love with each other, with their businesses, with our academic institutions, with our training providers to build something truly impactful. So I'm going to take 3 minutes to go over what we've done over the last year as part of the coalition, and then what we're doing as we enter this next phase. So in phase 1, there were a lot of meetings, okay? I think my count is we held 42 working group meetings. Can I see, by a show of hands, how many of you participate in working groups? Thank you. We love you. Thank you. And for how many of you is this your first Miami Tech Talent Coalition meeting ever? Okay, I'm looking at you because I'm going to ask you to sign up for things. Maybe volunteer you to sign up for some things. But over the last year, we built 4 working groups based on data we collected at our launch in February of last year. The 4 working groups include small business capacity building, a working group that focuses on emerging tech talent. That's early talent that is also emerging technologies. We have a working group that focuses on looking at the tech skills gap locally, and we have a working group that focuses on thinking about building a really inclusive tech talent pipeline for our community. Those 4 working groups held 42 meetings. There are 251 active participants in those working groups. And then we held 5 in-person coalition meetings, one which included, I think, the world record for baseball puns. For those of you who are there, you know what I'm talking about. And each one of those meetings had a little over 100 attendees. So we know our community is interested in this space, thinking about this space. And this first year was really about bringing people together who normally just are not in the same rooms together to look for creative collisions. And those creative collisions created pilot programs, but they also created all kinds of business opportunities that honestly we weren't aware of. But many people have connected. There have been B2B relationships, new partnerships built, new curricula being built at our local universities, new training providers in the market, providing very quick credentialing programs to support people in getting from a classroom into a high-wage, high-growth job, which, although it's the best city of the world, we know how expensive it is to live here. So people need really great, high-paying wages so we can keep our people here. As we enter phase 2, to Terry Ann's point, the things that keep us up at night are how do we really think about the people in this community and at scale get people from a classroom or from a gig economy type job into a really great career pathway. And so phase 2 of this program, we love all our working group members. I'm going to put that out there. And everyone, the entire community is invited to in-person coalition meetings. We want to feed you. We want to give you coffee. We want to make sure you get to build those relationships. Our working groups are going to shift to be very strategic and small, where we have, if you just think about this, a table where you have a couple employers who are seeking tech talent, you have a couple of our university, college, and training providers at the table, and you have community-based organizations that can provide both a talent pipeline from neighborhoods, but also the wraparound services that people need to be able to get trained and get into great jobs. Those new working groups will launch next month. Those of you who have already been involved, we're going to keep you involved. Don't worry, you're not getting fired from a volunteer working group, we promise. But we really now want to get from a brainstorming discussion into real action planning to get people into these jobs. You will get many emails from the Miami TechWorks team over the next month to get engaged in this work. And ultimately, we want everyone in Miami to stay here. We want to bring more people here. Like I said, we're the best city in the world, but I don't necessarily say that as a joke. We have the opportunity to build really great solutions to challenges affecting the world, whether it's a talent challenge or it's a climate challenge, as you heard from Chessie. That's the next thing we're all going to be working on together. But we really have, this city is a miracle in and of itself, and we do have in our hands the power to really create a sustainable place where everyone can live and have great jobs. So thank you for being here. I saw those of you who raised your hands who haven't been involved. I'll talk to you. But thank you for being here this morning. We are now going to transition into amazing panels where you will hear about the real stories of what's been happening in this coalition over the last year. I want to welcome Kevin Robinson. Kevin is not just a project manager with Miami TechWorks. He's an amazing moderator and talker, and if you haven't already talked to him, you should talk to him. So Kevin is going to be moderating a panel on artificial intelligence and the career opportunities and trends.
So thank you all for coming. Good morning. I'm so honored to be here and celebrate a one-year anniversary with I always say the amazing Terry Ann. I've just known her for so long, and just meeting her from the Levan Center, I really love what you're doing, so I just want to tell you thank you. So today's panel discussion, we are going to delve in the dynamic landscape of AI within the emerging tech sector, right? So when we think about emerging technologies, you just want to think about innovation and any that can help scale any sector, right? So first, I want to start with academia. what are some of the companies looking for? How are some of the schools changing like some of the curriculum and everything? Then we're going to get into AI and entrepreneurship. That's where Charles is going to come in. And then we're also going to, the last part, we're going to bring everything together. How are schools, large companies like AWS, and startups, smaller companies, how are we all going to work together? So Pedro, I would like to start with you. I called the super energetic and great colleague, Pedro Santos, who is the Executive Director of Emerging Tech. How do you see the demand for AI professionals evolve just across the different sectors? And what are the skill sets do you think these industry leaders or just some of these industries are looking for?
Well, thank you, Kevin, and welcome everyone to Miami-Dade College and the beautiful Wolfson campus. We are pleased to have you here today. So, Kevin, great question. And one of the things that we've seen, Kevin was mentioning about Miami. Why Miami? So Miami is becoming a hub because of different industries. So we have the finance sector in Brigham. We have the transportation hub, mainly supported by the port, the airport, but also we have the health, we have the education. And lately, for the past year, the request has come from those sectors. So meetings between the dean, Antonio, and us is how we can support the evolution of those companies and those industries to increase and enhance the use of AI. So now the challenge is not just to get those IT teams or the cybersecurity team or the network team, is how we can scale up all the teams, anyone that is working in any companies, and we are partnering right now with different companies. Best possible example. And Karen, going back to the opening, is who is leading the effort. In my case, in our case, is Miami-Dade County. So we are partnering right now with Miami-Dade County because we are committed to support all the learning experience for Miami-Dade County employees. And I'm talking about those ones that are leading the parks, those ones that are leading the airport, those ones that are leading the IT department. We want to make sure that everyone knows how they can apply AI. I don't want to leave AI just for few. AI has to be a movement. Saif was mentioned that about a movement last night during the meeting, and I was thinking about it, how we can evolve for having AI available for this group of people that probably in this room everyone knows what is AI and have used AI, but how I can make sure that the students that are coming through Miami-Dade College and studying project management, how I can incorporate AI to the curriculum, so by the time that this or any company is hiring that student is coming with the knowledge about project management, but also AI incorporated.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you so much. So now we have Pedro's perspective from the academia side. So now we're going to transition over to the industry side. Good morning, Salinas.
Good morning.
First of all, I haven't seen you in a while. The last time we saw each other, there was an AWS competition, and I'm just so proud to say that my team won. Yes, I'm still on that crowd.
Great job.
So Salinas is an enterprise account executive at AWS, and what I love about talking to you is that you love what you do, and you travel a lot, so I love that. I wanted to get your perspective on on the industry level, how are they incorporating and how are they integrating AI into the business?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm always super happy to work with you, Kevin, and the team from Miami TechWorks. So I will definitely say that companies now feel the need and the rush to get into generative AI just because in order for them to remain competitive, it's super important for them to be able to leverage this new technology and keep up with the trends. For example, in the travel and hospitality industry, improving customer experience, making sure that it helps with their sales and marketing strategy, operational efficiency, employee productivity, and that's why they use tools with cloud providers because they're able to innovate quicker and fail quick, experiment, and learn from those in order to come up with the best solution for their specific company.
Yes. Okay, this is you touched on a great point. I want to go a little bit further into cloud services. I'm going to touch on that with you too on the entrepreneurship level. But how important is knowing cloud services and being well-versed in that particular realm? What advice would you give someone who is new to tech what advice would you give them in regards to just learning cloud services with AWS or just any cloud services in particular?
Definitely in cloud computing, as you know, in AWS, we have new services coming out almost every day. So actually hard to keep up, but definitely the best thing to do is to be involved in workshops. We do a lot of events locally here in Miami, but more importantly, a lot of free training online, certification. It's just continuous learning. It never ends.
Okay, then my last question for you, what is your day-to-day like as an account executive?
Yeah, so I work directly with C-level executives to help them with their business strategy and how they can leverage cloud and technology as a competitive advantage. So day in, day out, I will have meeting with either the CIO, CXO, and talk about the different projects, how we can help accelerate it, and just work in partnership together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to move on to Charles now. This is where we're going to delve into the entrepreneurship of AI. And I'm like, you're my entrepreneur brother. Like I'm a big supporter of entrepreneurship. And one thing that I love about what you do is you give seminars and workshops. And I really like that you delve deep into helping businesses think about what they need to ask to incorporate the AI. Because that's the hardest part first. Of course, we know that it's important right now. It's the hot topic, but we don't really know like what's the next step. And that's something that I would like for you to talk about. How do you help startups?
The way I help startups and smaller businesses is really kind of explain to them that artificial intelligence or AI doesn't stand for artificial intelligence. It stands for augmented intelligence. It's a mindset, not a skill set. So when you think about how you're building your business or how you want to grow it, you want to integrate that into the strategy of what you're approaching. Why is that so important? The velocity in which concepts and ideas and terms are evolving in this space particularly is such at a fast pace, near light speed in comparison to other technical cyclicals, like NFTs and blockchains or cloud even. Okay. It's hard to keep up on every single tactical, technical technology that you want to implement. But if you can think of it from a strategy perspective and kind of stay at a high level, although the implementation details change, you can really stay on top of the trends from that perspective.
Okay, so I'm a startup, and let's say I have a database. I need help. What would be your first question?
Do you have a database and you need help?
Yes.
There's like 100 first questions I would ask. But really, the most important is, do you want to make more money or do you want to spend less money? It's a good question.
Yeah, no, that is. I want to spend less.
You want to spend less?
Yes.
So then the first area, so I basically organize companies into two halves. You have the side that tries to increase its revenues, and there's the side that wants to decrease its operational cost. So now we start to look at the data set and your systems in terms of your operations. And the beauty about AI, just to have fun with this, is, yes, everyone's super excited about generative AI. I think the next wave of innovation that's going to hit even now, and we're going to be talking it from our research, is what we call context design and architecture, which is the art of integrating all your systems so that they can generate context and actually automate the process of generating work product. So using generative AI, using automated context design instead of prompt engineering.
Okay, how large should my team be? I'm a startup.
As a startup, we live in a wonderful time of convergence in technologies and frameworks. So one engineer can do the work of what would take 10 people just 10 years ago. And so what I really love about that is between all the open source frameworks and technologies that are available, all the classes and curriculum that even institutions like Miami-Dade College gives, ChatGPT will give you some teaching as well. It's an interactive experience. And solutions like, and I have to be biased, but we're a big AWS shop, so a lot of the tools that we use out of AWS really allows us to build prototypes. What used to take a week, which we thought was long, you can do in a matter of hours. And so the point is not to build things, the point is to deliver value for the business, and that's what we focus on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Pedro, you're up next. So now, Pedro, we're thinking about AI professionals and entrepreneurs. When you're working with the students, a lot of you might not know, Pedro plays a big role. Him and Antonio, they do so much for these students on the campus. I just have to tell you, just because we work in the office, I see what you do. I hear what you do. Your energy is so valuable, from helping the Swift students, the Tesla students. There's so many things here. I would want to know, what are the conversations that the students are having with you, and what are the advice that you're giving the students in regards to transitioning into tech? Sometimes we have the imposter syndrome. sometimes we're a little nervous. What advice do you give, and what are some of the things that they're telling you?
So thank you, Kevin, for the question. So first advice is to get out. Many of the students, they want to know more. My recommendation is to participate in this meeting, to connect with you guys. Many of the students are coming to me and say, hey, Pedro, how I can get access to these people? And I said, the first one is invite those students to the events, but also to get involved in projects. How I can connect that student in a meetup, that student can immediately get the connection with Charles or get the connection with Celine. But also at the same time, we are connecting with companies that are willing to accept the students, guys, which is really important. Yes, the students can ask, and I have everyday conversation with the students, but I need the companies. We need the partnership with the companies that are willing to accept those students that want to, as Selene says, fail and try. But I need, and we need you guys. If we don't have you, it's really difficult if I just call Celine. Hey, I have 2 students that are doing cloud. I'm the only person that we know, and we know many, but we are trying to find the right partner for the right student. So right now, to another point, Kevin, we are not just receiving the questions from the students that are doing tech. In the room, we have one student that has been amazing with us, which is a business student, Nick. So last year, we were getting ready for Immerse, and we spoke with Nick, and Nick came to us being a business student, and he said to us, I'm interested in AI. So we connected Nick with a company called Entity Data. We trained Nick in how to build a model for a particular device, and Nick became the start in AI without being a tech student. How? Entity Data came to me, and we were able to make that connection. And it's not that difficult. My ask to this group is, let us know how you can support those students that we have. And we are talking about 125,000 students. Then all of them is the talent that we need. We don't want to have those students coming to Miami-Dade after going to FIU or to Berry or to UM and leaving Miami. We need those students to stay in Miami through the support that you can provide to us. My advice to the students is to stay, to put themselves out. And by the way, I said it to the students, they need to do the job. I won't do that job. And I put some pressure on them as well. I give you the opportunity, but you have to deliver. Guys, the students that connect with me, they deliver. And the students that connect with you, you most likely are going to call me back and you're going to ask me for more students. That's my only ask. I'm going to be around. Let me know if you want to work with me.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you. Thank you. Passion. So, Salinas, I'm going to close it out with you. I want to talk about the collaboration that MDC has with AWS.
Well, I'm super passionate about the partnership.
Yes.
Definitely started with Antonio Delgado and obviously Pedro. One of the things that I love about Miami-Dade College is that they're very accessible and they make it very easy for us to work with them. For example, we have the AWS Academy program where universities, institutions are able to get accredited, get their faculty trained on it, and update their curriculum according to our standards, our best practices with AWS. And Miami-Dade College really took it serious. They took it on, and they were able to update the curriculum and get students graduated. And where I came in was at the part where they needed students to get hired. And at AWS, we talk a lot about diversity, inclusivity, and we thought it was really important to make sure that those job requirements had the flexibility so we can include more students, like from Miami-Dade College. They had a 2-year degree, for example. And we were able to update that, and more importantly, we were able to demonstrate to our customers and our partners that we were hiring from Miami-Dade College because they've done the work. They've done so many great, amazing things with us that we really believe in it. So I feel like that really kind of solidified the partnership across AWS in the industry and locally in the community.
Okay, great. How many students has AWS hired from MDC? Do you have an estimate?
I have, but I'm not allowed to share that.
I wish.
But
I'm trying to create FOMO.
What I will say that I'm super proud when we have recruiting events exclusively for Miami-Dade College, the students go through the interview process, and the rate of success that they get hired is the highest that we've ever done. So they're really prepared and they've done their homework.
Thank you all so much. We reached time. And we did an excellent job. All questions were answered, all T's were crossed, our I's were dotted. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It really means that we're looking at how do we create career pathways into high-paying technology jobs. We know that Miami is growing. We know that there's a lot of excitement about companies coming here, but we want to make sure that there's jobs available for people, that they can get sustainable wages, that they can find some place to live, and that they can stay, live, grow, and be happy here.
So we have an incredible group of people who built one of the most successful pilot programs over the last year. I want to welcome to the stage Johannes Quiles, who's one of our grant program managers with Miami TechWorks. Reginald Andre, who's an amazing chair of the Small Business Capacity Building Work Group. Paul Polo, who, he already knows it, so I'll share the secret. He's going to get an award later today for his work. And Alberto Mujica, who's one of our startup founders, who's been a very active member of the coalition. We're going to talk about talent solutions for small businesses. Welcome to the stage, gentlemen.
Well, thank you, everyone. What a warm welcome. I hope that's what Usher's going to feel like at the Super Bowl on Sunday. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As Karen mentioned, yes, these are the leaders of the Small Business Capacity Building Group of the coalition. And it's been a successful time. I'd like to start with Reginald Andre. Andre, tell us a little bit about why you chose to be the chair of the working group for small business capacity building.
Sure. So as a small business owner, I have a cybersecurity and IT company. And about a year ago today, when you guys had your first meeting, I always saw that there was a huge need. One of the things as a business owner that I try to do is hire from the schools. But then there's always a gap where the student, he's going to school, he looks on the website of the college and says, oh, wow, if I get this 2-year program or 4-year program, I'll make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And they followed all the instructions, they do the program. And then now when that student comes to me, I look at their resume, and yes, it's great that they have, the 2-year program, the 4-year program, just the certificate, but they've been working at Publix or Macy's for the last 5 years, and they have no experience. So one of the, and therefore, I can't pay them $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And of course, with the cost of living here in South Florida being so high, they want to, they want to get out of their parents' home, right? They want to move out and try to start their own life. And from there, because they can't get the dollar amount that they're looking for, they end up now leaving the state and going to other states that's going to pay them. So it got so bad to a point where we had to start hiring overseas because we couldn't find the talent and be able to afford what we could afford as a small business. We have about 10 employees. So when I saw what was happening here with the Miami TechWorks, I was like, we got to help fill that divide and that gap that's happening now because there's a big discrepancy between the student, the employer, and the educational facility.
Thank you, Andre. And you brought up your business. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So we are a cybersecurity and IT support company. So businesses that can't justify or are too small to have a internal IT service, they call us, and from there we provide their risk management, cybersecurity, and IT.
Thank you so much, Andre. All right, I'd like to turn our attention over to Paul Polo. Paul, you've been instrumental in the work that we've done here in the micro-internship program with the Small Business Capacity Building Group. Tell us a little bit about what you do and why you chose to go in this direction to lead this project.
Awesome. Yeah, so about 2 years ago, we started a pilot program with the FIU Honors College connecting students to companies through micro-internships. We saw a huge gap in students having that real-world experience, connecting, networking, being ready for that first interview. And we're replicating some of the success here with the Tech Talent Coalition through the small businesses. 50% of employees are employed by small businesses, but only 20% of small businesses have more than one employee or have employees. I think if we help small businesses at least hire 1 or 2 more people, those numbers can quickly change. And small businesses tend to hire local, so that it just backs up the initiative that the TTC is all about.
Thank you, Paul. And you were instrumental in bringing the platform that's being used for these micro internships to the Miami Tech Talent Coalition. Could you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Annie in the back. She's wearing the Parker Dewey shirt, representing Parker Dewey. We thank you so much for your partnership. Parker Dewey is the nation's leading micro-internship platform. They've been around for 7 years. They make it as easy as possible for employers to reach talent. There is no cost to partner for universities. Right now, they're giving us full access to the DeLuca grant, which they run. Any company here that's hiring, any employer here, has access to 5 projects for 15 hours that pay the student $300 each. The payment piece is very important because that is another initiative from Parker Dewey. They want to end unpaid internships where it makes sense. And it's truly available for everybody. The student benefits, they get that resume. Macy's Publix looks great because it shows that they worked through full-time school, and that is the story of a lot of most students here in this community. Full-time work, full-time school, and they're pushing other initiatives, extracurriculars. It's only fair that they get really cool projects on their resume that's going to give them better bullet points during that job interview.
Yes, and let's please give a hand for Parker Dewey. They've been such wonderful partners in this process. Thank you. So now we shift from the planning stages over to the actual implementation stages. And with that, I introduce Alberto Mojica, and he's the managing partner for Scale Up Legal. Alberto, tell us a little bit about what you do at Scale Up and why you chose to go in this direction of the micro-internship for your business.
So I'm an attorney, and our firm specializes in working with small businesses and startups. And before I go into all of this, I have to thank Reggie and you and Paul for putting together such a great program that I've been able to take advantage of. And here's what I have to say about the program. We were able to find students that had great potential, but had no actual experience, for example, in actual hands-on things like AWS, HubSpot, real actual tools that small businesses are using. But the willingness to learn, and with the fundamentals that were given to them by the great schools we have in the area, FIU and Miami-Dade College, etc. And I was able to give them an opportunity, a chance to develop those skills, put it on their resume, so that then they can either I hire them, which I have, or I release them into the wild where Reggie can hire them, you know? So it's been a great program. So back to what we do. We help startups figure out how to grow, right? We help them structure their corporations. We help them raise capital. We help them structure an offering to raise capital. We help them prepare their IP. We help them do all these things, but we're not an IT shop, right? Although I'm a systems engineer and a data scientist. I used to be in the IT world, but we're not an IT shop, so we need businesses like Reggie's to be well-staffed. We need the occasional IT staff ourselves, and this has been great. So I want to thank them. I want to thank the Miami Tech Talent Coalition for doing a great job with that. So.
Thank you, Alberto. And we're not just done there, because we have a little surprise for you. We couldn't leave students out of this equation. It's important to see how we are going to impact them. And so the students had to be in class today, so they couldn't join us on the panel. But we did get a video from one of them, Nicole Dini, a student at Miami-Dade College, who's going to tell us a little bit about her experience working for Alberto's company, Scale Up.
Hi, my name is Nicole Dini, and I just completed my first micro internship with Parker Dewey and Skill Up Legal. So I was basically in charge of content creation for social media. This means like creating posts for Canva, for the Instagram stories, regarding like events they had, or any little thing that they wanted me to post. I had to create a post about it. So in essence, this internship allowed me to kind of get into my creative side. In essence, it also helped me build up my professionalism, especially in the Zoom meetings and the emails, and also the tasks. I had to be responsible. I had to keep up with deadlines for the post for certain events, have the content already done. And besides that, communication was incredibly well with Alberto and Chantal. Chantal was the one in charge of me basically doing all the content, and she was great. So besides from that, it was a great learning experience, and I would definitely do it again. Thank you.
That was so sweet. I didn't know, so that's fantastic.
Oh, well, it just goes to show you with the right mentorship, what this program can do. We can see what the students are actually experiencing on the other end. So we thought it was important to include that in this panel. And so I'd like to shift the focus over now to how to move forward, right? I'd like to go back to Andre. Why should small businesses get involved with the coalition? You know, we have all these working groups, and from your perspective, why do you think that the small businesses should join?
So when you look at comparing Miami to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, as far as tech, we're fairly new. This is all new for us. This room here and all the great work that's done, this is not happening every day or every week compared to these other cities. So if we're going to talk about Miami being the tech hub, we ourselves, our leaders and business owners, we have to help the younger generation. So for everyone listening, I would say give back, because the only way we are going to make South Florida a real tech hub is if we start today. And the way it starts is by joining Coalition and your network. We can only, our LinkedIn accounts and things like that, we can only go so much. But if now we can get just, 1 hour a month we're doing our meetings, it's going to go so much further.
Definitely, and it's important to keep going further. And with that, Paul Polo, would you tell us a little bit about how educators and employers can get involved and how an employer can host a micro-intern?
Absolutely. So I jumped the gun a little bit, talking about the opportunity there for the DeLuca program. But we welcome all employers, all companies. We would love to help you scope out a project. We would love to help you see what kind of talent there is in the local universities. Hopefully, you can use this as a great recruiting tool as well. It could be a paid interview, as we like to call it. There are several ways to structure this that can help you, and it won't affect your bottom dollar. So please reach out to any one of us, anybody at the TTC. We would love to help you get started with your first project.
Thank you, Paul. All right, and as we do get started, I'd like to hear from Alberto to see what perspective he can give to small business owners. What would you say to small business owners who would like to get started and kind of are apprehensive about taking that first step?
I would say it's extremely valuable. When I got involved, I wasn't sure what I was going to get out of it, or if it was going to be another show and tell, we've done, and nothing happens. But as I continued to remain involved, I saw with, Terry and Karen's fearless leadership, your participation, I mean, things are getting done. And things are improving for Miami thanks to this coalition. Businesses are getting resources, including mine. And for me personally, it's been getting to know all of you. And that's been very rewarding. And so I would tell to other businesses out there, giving back and participating ultimately is so much more rewarding than what you have to put into it. So I would say you're going to get a whole lot more out of it than what you put in, but still go in and put in, because it's worth it. It's great. And I think it's great for the business, for the people, and for the city, and everybody involved. It's a big win-win-win. So that's my experience.
Big wins. And with that, Paul, any last words from you about this program?
I would say that micro internships are a tool. They do not replace regular internships, apprenticeships, every other initiative that is going on in Miami. It is just another tool that you can apply to however your recruiting needs are, your job needs are. It's project-based. There's always a deliverable there, but it can lead to longer-term internships. We've had students do a micro internship, prepare their LinkedIn account, get their resume in order, reach out to career services. Those are the first kind of baby steps to be prepared for that job interview with Andre or with Alberto. They'll be much better off. Thank you.
For the last words, Reginald Andre, as the chairman of the Small Business Capacity Building Group, any last words?
Give back. If you know anything about me, it's always about giving back.
Thank you very much. And that's our panel. Okay.
Hi, everybody. We have another panel, because that's this type of day. You're going to hear about some more impact. So the next panel is made up of folks who talk about addressing the tech skills gap in our local community. And we're going to talk with some programs that are doing just that in really intentional ways. So I want to welcome to Ann. You have a master moderator as well here with Terry Ann Brown. The Miami Tech Works team, by the way, moderating is not their job, but that is definitely an amazing talent. Way to go, Johannes and Kevin. So this next panel is going to be moderated by our grant director, Terry Ann Brown, and it's going to include Julie Vallejos, who's the executive director of INIT. And if you're looking for student talent and don't know INIT, you should go talk to her and get INIT. Steve Lewis, who's the executive director of technology, and he does all kinds of other types of stuff at FIU's College of Engineering and Computing. Nimi Arunchalam, who's the program director for Breakthrough Tech, which is a program that focuses on getting more women into tech careers. Welcome to the stage, y'all.
So I actually love moderating. I feel like in the past life, this was really my calling. So I love it. I'm excited to host this panel because every time I sit in on one of our Tech Skills Gap working group sessions, I love the data that we talk about. I love the message that we talk about. So I'm excited to host this. If you all could please go down the line. I'm going to start with you, Julie, and just talk a little about who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. I am the executive director of INIT, a nonprofit organization that was created by computer science students from FIU that now help underrepresented communities and students achieve success and careers in tech.
Hi, thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm going to fake it till I make it. My name is Nimi Arunachalam. I'm the director for Breakthrough Tech Miami, housed at the Knight Foundation School of Computing and Information Sciences at FIU. We started this work a couple of years ago. We are funded in part by Melinda Gates through her foundation and Cognizant Foundation. Our goal and mission is to grow women and other minoritized students in computing. So a grand goal, we want to graduate 500 women per year by June 2027. I hope you'll all pray for us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Lewis. I'm Executive Director for Technology for the College of Engineering and Computing. That's a mouthful. In addition to all the work I do in technology, the hat that I'm wearing here today is really industry relations, is to try to find ways to connect industry members with our faculty, find opportunities for our students to get internships, full-time positions, and really open the door for both our College of Engineering and our Knight Foundation School of Computing, which, by the way, has over 4,000 computing students, 60 faculty, and this is a very open environment. We are very friendly. We don't bite. Please knock on our door. We'd love to have industry members come and observe what our students are doing and also give us feedback.
Thank you. So Julie, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about how has INIT through UPE historically addressed the tech skills gap, and how are you thinking about it now?
Sure. So INIT was born from Upsilon Pi Epsilon, which is a computer science honor society, and the students were looking for additional resources or additional skills that they weren't attaining following their formal curriculum and their learning theory and learning what they were losing in class. So they decided to create an organization outside of the honor society to see how they could help their own community learn collaboratively all the tech skills that they weren't able to put into practice or to put into a hands-on experience in their academic experience. So they created this immense community of students who worked with other organizations and companies and mentors and alumni that would help them bring in workshops and hands-on learning experiences and everything that they could, so they could not just learn textbook, but also put into practice what they were learning in class. So as of now, we are growing our chapters not only from FIU into other schools. So we have 3 chapters here at Miami-Dade College. We're moving into the University of Miami. We're a pin closer to Florida Memorial University and hoping to expand broader so we could create more chapters like our FIU chapter so they could continue to help more and more members create this immersive, hands-on learning, collaborative learning experience with our students.
Yeah, and so for those of you that are new, I like to always share a little bit about my background and my story and always tie it back to why Miami Tech Works and the Tech Talent Coalition is really important. I was probably one of those students that needed an INIT way back when I was a computer science major, freshman year of college, probably one of only 2 female in a C++ class, and then eventually dropped that class because I did not feel like I belonged there. I was getting a C minus, and I was like, wait a minute, is computer science for me? And I dropped out. But if I had community around coding, around computer science, I probably would have stayed in it. So in it. Yeah, see
you
what I
are
did there?
in it.
See what I did there? So yeah. So when I look at INIT, I really see the opportunity for students to be retained in their technology career pathway. And a lot of what we hear sometimes is that there are students that if they don't see themselves being reflected in a successful career path, they'll drop out, especially when it comes to technology careers. So super excited to have you all as a partner.
Thank you.
Nimi, that gives me a great segue to talk about what you guys are doing with your sprintership program. And I'm just going to give you a big plug because the latest news is you got 25 students placed at American Express. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a segue now to talk about what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to INIT. By the way, I make this bad pun all the time with students. INIT, we're in it. So they're still not sick of it yet. But Terry, and I want to quickly say, so you could have used Breakthrough Tech as well, because one of the things we do at FIU is to find a community for our students, not just women, but any student who feels the need for that community. And I think the crowd here will agree that in computer science, you need that community. It's really hard to make it in this field without relying on each other. So having said that, you talked about Sprinternship. Yeah, so Sprinternship is a micro-internship opportunity. It's a paid one. I think Paul, in the previous one, the panel, he mentioned that we should end free internships. So definitely, I echo that. And I think it was, Alberto, I think, said students are not really sure where they're going to go to get this experience, right? So Sprinternship is an answer to this. Students will be placed in teams of 3 to 5 students. They get paid for their work, and they work on a challenge project with the employer. And it's not a challenge project like what you would do in a classroom, which has a highly theoretical tone to it. This is a business challenge that's faced by the organization, and the students are actually bringing you fresh insight and giving you their perspective and solving this problem for you within 3 weeks. And I know there's a lot of skepticism as to what can be done in 3 weeks. So I really want to echo the American Express story. They took 33 of our students last year, majority women, and 25 of them got return offers. 9 of those 25 were full-time offers. And I have to say there were women and first-generation students in the 9 that got full-time offers. Yeah, so and I was only joking when I said pray for us. You could pray for us, but you could also host our sprinters. I think that would be even better. And we're really eager to work with any employer here, whether you're a nonprofit, government. In fact, MDC-IT, the IT department of the county, they took one team last year, and they were so impressed, they're going to come back for more. And I heard UKG is in right here, so UKG signed up. They are going to be hosting a sprinternship team for the first time. And Blackstone has signed on. So we have big names, but we want names that are from nonprofits, government. And in fact, FIU is hosting sprinters. So we all have business challenges. We want to give our students this opportunity to get that experience that they really need in order to get into the industry and be super successful employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what you've heard so far for the day is micro internships, short-term projects, sprinternships, short-term internships, but it does allow for students to build their portfolio, get as much real-world experience as possible. And I'm just going to tie that back into what I said earlier. It's a two-sided marketplace that we're looking at, giving businesses the opportunity to engage early and often with talent, but also giving students the opportunity to build up their capacity as well. So with that, I'm going to transition now to Steve. And Steve, can you talk a little bit about how is FIU and the Knight Foundation Computer School of Science, how are you viewing the tech skills gap, and what are you doing, what programs are you creating to address it?
Yeah, thanks, Terry. So basically, we are accredited for computer science, IT, and cybersecurity. So we have a continuous improvement process that solicits information from our alums, from employers, and from our recent graduates. Basically, that input goes back into improving courses, improving course outcomes, eliminating courses that aren't relevant, introducing new courses that are designed to meet the employer's needs. So that's like the traditional flow. But what's really interesting now at FIU is that we have micro-credential capability. We have a micro-credential office, and this office now has a catalog, I think, of almost over 100 courses that allow for very specific skill development. So long story short, we've introduced within the school a Tech Talent Academy that has allowed us to onboard these micro-credentials. And our first micro-credential is Software Development Internship Ready. And the intent with this is to give students essentially a mini internship experience. We've invited Microsoft, GitHub, and local companies like Assurant to come in to mentor our students as well as allow them to work on an open source project. I think you've always maybe heard this problem, maybe you remember this problem when you were in college. You go to an employer, you say, well, I don't have any experience, and then they say next. So the idea basically is, how do you solve the chicken and the egg problem? We think the egg here is open source. We think that introducing our computing students who are programming capable, allowing them to work on either large scale or small scale open source projects is a great way for them to get introduced to the developer community as well as get feedback from professionals from around the world on what it is that they're developing. So instead of just developing a simple project that you stand up at a demo day and say, look what I built, we think there's more value in, as a community, allowing that student to understand how development actually happens. And so we strongly encourage companies who want to participate in this process to come up and talk with us. We're the experiential learning team from FIU. There's a booth over there. Alina, you can raise your hand in the back there. So she'll be happy to help you understand a little bit more about what we're doing in this space. But I think more importantly is just allowing you to think about how your engineers can connect with emerging talent, as well as what are some of the open source projects tools that you leverage. I mean, the entire internet is built essentially on open source, or leverage it in some way. So I'm sure there's some open source in your company that connects and would be a great proving ground for you to identify emerging talent.
Thank you, Steve. And so you used a word there that I want to touch on very quickly, is that mentorship piece. And so I'd like for each of you, well, you just addressed it, but I'd like for Julie and Nimi to address how important is it for mentorship in the programs that you all are doing, and what can we say to the employers in the room about that mentorship component?
Well, I would say you're like a role model. You're a person who is serving as the representation of what these students want to be. You're directly immersed in the profession, and they need all the guidance that they can get. Our students love to meet with those who are actually doing what they want to do. So if you have the time to mentor them, talk to them, look over their resume, go over soft skills, that's huge, with them, and guide them towards the right internship or the right, interview skills that they need, that's worth it. Its weight in gold, to be honest.
I think mentors can short-circuit the time that students take to learn and master concepts. So when you talk about skills gap, right, there's two kinds of skills gaps. You have the technical skills gap, and I call it the experience skill gap. So mentors can help with both. In fact, I started giving a shout-out to Init. I guess you're all wondering why. The Amex story would not have happened if not for the student mentors from Init. Because we all know that what students learn in the classroom and what the industry expects, completely different, right? So who are these students who are actively seeking to upskill themselves? The ones who are looking for jobs or internships. And I can tell you, students don't wake up until their third or fourth year. By then, it's too late. Like, you can't run the marathon when you just started training a week ago. You need to be building this muscle from year one. So student mentors from Init, they ran technical upskilling workshops for 24 hours. That was over 4 weeks. And so without that upskilling, our students would not have been able to go and show Amex that they could hit the ground running with, 3 weeks is such a short time. There's no time to realize on day one, oh, I needed to know this. So they went and prepared. And without the student mentors, they could not have done that. And then they came back different people. They walked different, they talked different, the confidence. And I think the big difference was the people they met at not just American Express, MDC-IT, all of the employers who were interacting with the students, they got a perspective that they've never seen before. And, as educators, and I'm a former high school educator, I could never give that to the classroom. You could try your best, but unless you really go work in an office environment, you're never going to know what things that you're not supposed to do and what are some good things that you have, your capabilities. So the confidence building can come from mentors, whether it's peer mentors or mentors from the industry.
Steve, I know that you addressed it previously, but anything you would add to the mentorship component?
I think the reality is that in a traditional classroom setting, students already know the game, and they know how to keep the professors happy. And, so I think what the mentors do, especially engineers who have had experience internally to their companies to mentor other talent, is it gives them a really strong real-world flavor, something that the students have never seen before. Minimi mentioned the word confidence. That's a big word that we're using in the academy, is to start building confidence in your skills and also figure out what your voice is. A lot of our students, because they haven't had to defend their code in front of other developers and explain why, what was their reasoning, you get that blank. So we wanted the mentors to work with the students to help them get over that blank, that fear, but also to build up the muscle memory necessary so that it just rolls right off the tongue. They feel like thoroughly connected with their ideas and what they're trying to express with code.
Thank you. So one final thought or question from the group with the prompt of what are you most excited for when it comes to the tech talent pipeline? Because you all are in it. See what I did there? So what are you most excited for?
I get the most excited every time I hear about a student landing a job or an internship. That makes my heart eyes, emoji heart eyes, come out so much. Hearing, and I mean, I worked at FIU for 8 years, and now it brought me on. And every time I hear a success story of a student landing a job, or I work at Google, or I work at Kaseya, you're like, yes, you're in it. Yes, like you did it. So that is one huge thing. And just making more in it members, bringing more people in it. I'm looking forward to it.
So within FIU, we all work very closely with each other. Like I worked with Julie, with Steve, with Alina. So we because we have to work with each other, right? But until the Tech Talent Coalition started, I was not looking outside of FIU. I mean, we were knocking on employers' doors, but knocking as sole individuals. We didn't have a story that was powerful enough or strong enough or even convincing enough. But I recognized so many faces in just 1 year. And I have to say, during all of those Zoom meetings, I'm busy looking everybody up on LinkedIn, connecting with them, and I've had so many meetings with amazing people. And I think it brings us closer. I think if it is an ecosystem, then you can't just have boundary from you to everybody else. We all have to form a matrix of, it's a network of links between all of us. And I think that's what defines an ecosystem. This is necessary. Somebody in the previous panel mentioned Silicon Valley. So we want to be Silicon Valley. It's not enough if we just say that. We have to connect with each other. I think that's step one. So I think this coalition is definitely, I would say that's the first thing that's super successful. I know you have other plans for year 2, but I would say year 1 is a resounding success. I feel super well connected. It doesn't mean they've all signed up for sprinternships, but then that's our, we have to go convince all of you, but it seems like you've laid the groundwork.
Well, first, I would like to thank Alberto Delgado, Terry, and the Miami TechWorks team for all the work that they have done to bring this community together. It's been really, really needed for many years, and to be able to actually see it in fruition and seeing the machinery that's being built and the connections and the relationships, it's amazing. So, I mean, I really suggest for your employers that if you're not finding value, please come up to us and we will help you find value in this consortium. And we really want you to reach out to your colleagues and other companies and invite them to come here. Guys, there's thousands of students, competing students amongst all our institutions, amongst all of our organizations that we are training at for multiple career pathways. There's enough, right? Taking a line from Heat Culture, I'm a Heat fan, Coach Spo, there is enough. We have enough to build this community, but we need everybody in it to win it.
See how we get you there?
Yeah. Thank you all so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to welcome Toya Santamarina, who, please meet her if you don't know her. Toya is one of the leaders in thinking through not diversity, but real building inclusive workplaces for everybody. So Toya, come right up, Managing Director of Get Cities. I want to welcome Joe Mikola. I think everyone knows her. She's like a Miami tech celebrity. So I'm like, get her autograph. So Joanna is the Vice President and General Manager of BrainStation. And we're super excited because we have a super success story on the panel today. One of the kind of impacts of this work is getting people into really great career pathways. And we're joined by Desiree Malcolm, who is a 2-month into a job account manager at Kaseya. Welcome to the stage, ladies. Let's get going. So we built this working group on inclusive tech talent. When we looked at the survey results from our launch, the majority of employers said that they source their talent through personal networks. And when you look at, all kinds of research studies, that leads to us hiring people that look like us or from our community. And it kind of excludes people in different communities from our tech talent pipeline. So we really focused, and with the leadership of Toya and Selenis, who's our co-chair, really focused on thinking about how employers could do better, not just because inclusivity is important and there's a business case to be made, but because also our tech unemployment rate in Miami is less than 1%. So we need to really think creatively about getting everybody involved in the tech talent pipeline. So on the panel today, we have two people who built an incredible partnership. And we have Desiree, who's one of the leaders in our community, who is the future of real tech in Miami. So I'm going to stop talking now and let them talk. So if you can each just introduce yourselves, because your bios would take me 2 years to read. So if you could each introduce yourselves, but also talk about why this matters to you and why you've gotten involved in this work and why you agreed to speak on this panel.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Toya Santamarina. I'm the Managing Director of Get Cities Miami. And what we seek is to increase the representation of women, trans, and non-binary humans in the tech community. When they invited me to join the working group and this panel, I said yes immediately because it spoke so much about what we do in our daily work. So I'm always ready for a new challenge. Thank you.
Wow, 1 year. Let's give it up for that. That's pretty amazing. So VP and GM of BrainStation, we're a global leader in digital skills transformation. What that means is we give individuals a pathway to reskill, which means completely pivot their career from any background into technology, or upskill, which means that we help professionals level up to be more powerful, to get into tech in a more meaningful way. And we've been doing this for over a decade. So why am I here today? Because we were honored to be a recipient as a sub-awardee to help support bringing in underrepresented individuals to give them access to these pathways. And that's because Miami is this diverse ecosystem that needs these pathways. So I'm here part of this amazing collective of individuals and organizations who are looking to make this incredible impact in the place that we call home. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to beat those two, but in the future. My name is Desiree Malcolm, and I like the reskill. I actually reskilled. I was in real estate and insurance, and I attended this great boot camp, Tech Knowledge, and now I'm here. I'm an account manager for Kaseya, and I'm just going to be taking off.
Woo. Yes. Woo. Way to go. Okay. I want to get really tactical because I think a lot of people can learn from the partnerships that you've all created and also, Desiree, just your path into tech. So starting with you, Toya, when you think about Get Cities, why did you choose to commit to an investment in and also a partnership with a bootcamp provider?
Yes. So I think it's very important for us to make space. We want to make sure that we are intentional in giving the opportunity to those who historically have been excluded from a thriving community such as tech, to make sure that they were able to be a part of it. So that's why we decided to make an investment in BrainStation to make sure that trans and non-binary humans had the opportunity to join. And I think it was an amazing opportunity to meet more folks from BrainStation in their eagerness to learn how to be inclusive. It's not always easy, and we are always in the process of learning. So to be able to work together and, as I was saying, like make space for those who want to join but not necessarily have the means, or maybe they are not as self-aware that they can do it. Well, it was really, really important for us to be together and make sure that we were, as I was saying, like very intentional in making those opportunities happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Toya. And Joanna, from your perspective, can you talk about what that partnership looks like and why BrainStation chooses to think about inclusivity and partnering in these ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing this for the past decade, and in that time, we've educated and empowered over 100,000 professionals globally. We do that both in person in one of our 5 campuses, of which Miami's the best. No, they're all equal. We love our spicy Miami campus in Wynwood. So we educate people in person at our campuses and also online. Have been doing so for a long time. We have, from the beginning, been very passionate and intentional about the local communities that we are in. and to make sure that we are serving the local communities in a meaningful way. And so here in Miami, because it is such a naturally diverse ecosystem, since we launched in 2013, diversity and making sure that we create pathways which are accessible to that diversity has been really important. So while this is at the core and this is our intention, you can't always reach communities without great partnerships. And so a huge kudos to Get Cities. It's been a wonderful partnership. In order for us to really have that impact and make sure that those who can benefit from those accessible pathways are reached, we partner with amazing partners like Get Cities to make sure that, in this case, we're reaching women, non-binary, and trans community. And while we have a spark of wonderful things that have happened now, we have much work to do, right? So looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Beautiful partnerships, man. They have an impact. So speaking of partnerships, Desiree, you went to a program that was based out of Florida Memorial University with Ted Lucas's Tech Knowledge program. Can you talk about what attracted you to that and what that process was like for you?
So what actually attracted me to the program, I was working in a warehouse, and I was really, really tired of working there. I'm social, very social, and so I was just talking to someone, trying to get to know them, seeing the things that they were into, and they were telling me they're getting into the tech space, and I'm like, you know, I'm hearing so much about tech sales, I'm hearing 6 figures, like, where do I sign up? And so he's like, well, I actually attend this tech sales boot camp. It's about 5 or 6 weeks, and I'll give you the information. He passed the information to me. I wasted no time. 6 figures is all I heard, and I was ready. And so I signed up for the boot camp, and it just went on from there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And just a reminder to people hiring in the room, it's awesome when people get trained and then they get a job. So shout out to the employers that are extremely engaged, because that's 6 figures. Well, because you need 6 figures to live in Miami right now, so yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and shout out to Ted Lucas for all the great work he's doing as well.
Ted Lucas and Hillman Sore, they both work together with each other for the Tech Knowledge Bootcamp, which is the one that I attended at Florida Memorial University.
Awesome. So those of you looking for sales folks, account executives, that program is getting a lot of talent out into the market. And Kaseya, be careful, because Desiree may get another job offer after this panel, I think. Okay, sorry. I'm the one like losing time here. All right. Joanna, can you talk through just like the process of building this program and what the successes and challenges were?
Yeah, so I would say, again, going back to our DNA from the beginning was about diversity and inclusion, because we wanted to make sure that when we came to this ecosystem, that we were part of building a representative ecosystem, a tech ecosystem that hadn't been seen elsewhere in the nation. So that meant representation. So we had a great structure in place, and that's why this has been, we have already graduated nearly 40 individuals through Good Jobs Challenge. So let's give it up for those graduates. Congratulations. So we had that structure in place. Now, challenges do exist. So I want to echo something Terry Ann said. We love you, employers. We couldn't do this without you, period. Stop. So we would love to see you continuing to visit non-traditional tech backgrounds, these individuals, through all of these programs, to join your teams, give them a chance, look into apprenticeship programs, internship programs. So I would say not a challenge, but also an opportunity is to increase the hiring of non-traditional tech backgrounds. And on a personal note for students, a lot of the people coming into these programs, they need to earn wages. They ideally throughout the program, but definitely the moment that they graduate. And so we need to find creative and supportive ways to make sure that paid internships, micro internships, to make sure that people can start earning as soon as they have gained the credentials. That's really important as well.
Okay, Toya, what advice can you give folks around creating real inclusivity in the workplace through partnerships?
Work on your own biases. We all have those. We all have those. It's completely normal to experience things whenever we read a resume. But that is a big challenge towards inclusivity, towards equity. Work on your own biases. It's okay to be aware that we have them, and how can we overcome those? So whenever we are considering a talent, a candidate, we really see their talent and their skills, and not necessarily their accents or the background or their name. So I would say that that's something critical for all of us that are decision makers, that have budget, that have influence, to work on our own biases if we want to build an inclusive and equitable workspace.
I'll quickly chime in that not only did Get Cities fund scholarships in partnership with us for those communities, but also gave us insight into how we could change the terminology in anything that we had printed, and what our entryway looked like into our space, and how we welcome people into an event so that we thought we were inclusive and we had work to do. And so little tweaks and big tweaks go a big way.
Desiree, one of the questions I have on my script is why Kaseya? But I'm going to broaden it a little bit more and talk about just like, what was truly the experience for you going through the program, and then when you were ready to make a decision around your next job, why did Kaseya, why was that the employer of choice for you?
So going through my journey, I started at Technology, back in like November or so. Yeah, back around November. Program was 5 weeks. 2 weeks into the program, we had a time that we came in and they talked about optimizing, that we're going to optimize our LinkedIn. And I was like, we know AI is coming up in the world today. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to wait. I'm going to get on right now, go to ChatGPT and optimize my LinkedIn right now. And I did it. And the next day, a recruiter contacted me from Kaseya. And I was like, wow, this really works. I'm like, and they're looking at me who doesn't have a tech background. So what did ChatGPT do? And so I spoke with the recruiter, and very great recruiter, went through the process, helped me along the way because I was really nervous. I'm like, this is a big girl job now. This is Kaseya. Like, their name is on the Miami Heat arena. Like, and they're looking at me. And so, you know, I still had that courage to still go through with it. I was just really excited that someone was giving me the opportunity, because I have a lot of background in admin work and things like that, and I kind of boxed myself in, thought that I was only going to be an admin forever, that there wasn't a chance for me to make six figures unless I went to college again and got another degree somewhere. But this boot camp made it possible. I had great influence. They always encouraged me to be encouraged, and that was most important to me. And then coming into Kaseya, the first thing I told them is, you know, I'm all about family. I need to make sure you guys are going to have my back and things like that. And they said that as long as you put in the effort, we're going to make sure we have your back. And so that's why I chose Kaseya.
Okay, I'm getting the time check. So removing the script. So this grant gives us the opportunity to use federal funds, not local ones, to tinker a little bit and create new programs and be extremely innovative. I know this is off script, so I'm going to give you a choice. If you had $10 million to do what you would want to impact the tech talent pipeline in Miami, not to go on vacation, but if you had those $10 million and you were the lone decision maker, what would you do? So that's choice A. Choice B, 30 seconds or less, what is something we didn't talk about in the panel that you really want to get across to the audience? And I will allow whoever wants to go first to go first.
I'm happy to go first because I have an amazing news to share. So I will with the second one, which is we'll do a second investment in Brain Station for more students to join women, trans, and non-binary humans that need financial support to join the organization.
So excited about that. Thank you. Can't follow that. This is like, if you won the lottery, what would you do? Oh, so many things. My biggest thing that I would do first, before spending anything, is, or maybe incentivizing somehow to get all of the employers into a room and to ask, what are the blockers in hiring technology talent, and what are the biggest blockers in hiring non-traditional tech talent? And then I would incentivize and help fund paid apprenticeships. So that would be a big thing, and potentially tie them directly to any of the training programs that are going to feed into those apprenticeship programs. So that is probably where I would kick off the 10 million.
Awesome. Desiree, close this out.
I'll touch with two of those. So if I had the 10 million, because the boot camp worked so much for me, I would probably reinvest into that same boot camp to get more students to attend, to get into the tech space. If I had 30 seconds with someone to tell them something, I would tell them that your past does not dictate your future. Your steps moving forward dictates it. And as long as you're putting in the efforts and the works and you're staying optimistic, optimism is the key to this all, because we can put so much effort and we can be sad about things and it's not looking right. But as long as you stay optimistic, you got it. So that's what I would spend the 30 seconds.
Love that.
One more panel before our lunch break. So these are some heroes in our community that you really need to hear from. They are supporting with wraparound services our tech talent pipeline. I want to welcome to the stage Michelle Gongora, who's going to be our moderator, and she's a grant program manager with the Miami Tech Works team. Virgilio Rodriguez, who's the vice president of programs at OIC of South Florida, who's one of the partners in this work. Sorry, you guys can switch behind. Giselle Ortiz Velasquez, who's the director of Upskill Miami at United Way Miami, and Angeline Evans, who is the VP of Mission Advancement at YWCA South Florida.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Gongora. I'm the grant project manager at Miami Tech Works. Thank you all for being here today. Today, we are with our esteemed panelists. We're going to hopefully get a better understanding of some of the challenges that adult learners encounter and how wraparound services could be a key element to a successful learning journey. So thank you very much. So welcome everybody to the panel. My first question goes out to, first I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves and speak a little bit about their organization. So we'd like to hear about that. Virgilio?
Sure. Virgilio Rodriguez, Vice President of Programs at OIC of South Florida. We've been in South Florida for 22 years. We are a workforce development and workforce training organization, serving about 10,000 students, actually clients a year, and part of a national organization founded by Dr. Reverend Leon Sullivan in 1964. Very proud moment to be here, having been in the development space for many years. It's just amazing to see concepts, ideas, and actionable solutions come to fruition like it has here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Giselle Ortiz Velasquez, and I'm the director of Upskill Miami. And I am proud to be part of United Way Miami, an organization that is going to be celebrating 100 years in Miami-Dade County and providing services and resources to our community. Upskill Miami is a fund that was created by United Way Miami in order to invest in workforce development initiatives. So it's incredibly important for us to be able to be in a space where we can make an impact in being able to bring together employers as well as individuals in our community, as well as training providers, in order to provide opportunities for people to train and then transition into employment in high growth and high paying jobs.
Thank you, Giselle.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angeline Evans, Vice President of Mission Advancement at YWCA South Florida. We are 104 years old in Miami-Dade County, and we were created back in the day to advance equity for women and for communities of color, have always been our target. And the reason we do that is because we know that when we're able to break down barriers and address the needs of the most vulnerable communities, we can open doors for others. These doors get blown wide open. Workforce development has been in our blood since the very get-go. In the 20s, when we used to have typing classes for women who, when they're just starting to enter the workforce, to war times when all the men were gone and women had to fill these spots. This is where YWCA came in, and this is where we're really proud to continue coming in, particularly in the expanded and wraparound services that we're able to not just provide, but also connect with in the community with partners such as United Way, OIC, and so many of you out here.
Thank you, Angeline. Thank you. So to start off with our questions, Virgilio, with your experience at OIC and all the services that you provide your participants, how do the wraparound services address the unique needs of first generation and adult learners and to complete a successful training journey?
Thank you. Wraparound services for us is basically a model that we've had since our inception here at South Florida for 22 years. It's part of our client experience. So there's intake, assessment, and case managers that basically serve our clients, close to 2,000 per year. But wraparound services is basically asset mapping. It's partnership. It's a trust relationship with the client first and foremost. It's the client basically coming to us, no different than we do in LinkedIn environments where we exchange information, knowledge, and resources. The topics that we uncover in the work we do with low to moderate income populations basically are obviously highly sensitive. So it's a trust relationship, and it's basically acknowledging that the human experience basically oftentimes can or is susceptible basically to life events. And so we step in as a trusted partner. We leverage resources. We acknowledge that barriers are real with the client, but we also acknowledge that on the other side of those barriers, if we resolve them, it can change life trajectories, it can transform communities, it can create economic opportunities for individuals. But it also takes, in terms of it being sustainable, it takes public and private partnerships, and we've done that over 22 years under our CEO, Newton Sannon. Over $100 million has been raised to serve clients, again, in partnership with Department of Labor, with foundations, with Miami-Dade College. We work with all partners. And lastly, I'll share, wraparound services have a real economic impact. I work with a team not here in Florida, and I won't mention the company we worked with, but this company had basically a 28% retention rate. They had natural attrition. It was in manufacturing, and they were doing really well, had been around for over 50 years. And we did a financial model basically that looked at if we were able to increase through workforce development, through support services and other strategies working with the city, if we were able to increase it to 38%, what would the impact be? And it was another $40 million in revenue generated. And so, but it meant working and signing on to basically working with a workforce partner. It meant leveraging all resources. It meant working with hiring managers. And I'd say what's important here is to understand and never underestimate the role of nonprofit organizations. It's oftentimes under a mission and really specific vision and mission and outcomes, what government can't do and what the for-profit sector couldn't do. So I would say, again, with $100 million that we've invested and leveraged over the years, wraparound services is going to be more and more vital when we look at the challenges that we're facing in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Wraparound services are very vital. Thank you. Thank you, Virgilio. So Giselle, I have a question for you. So what are some of the programs that, I know you spoke a little bit about your programs already, but expand upon that in regards to wraparound services and the tech talent pipeline. What are some of the programs that United Way might have to address these needs?
Absolutely. So at United Way Miami, we've always had the ability to have the community access resources. So that infrastructure was already in place. So what we had the opportunity to do when Upskill Miami was launched in July of last year is to provide or to have the opportunity for the individuals that were being funded through the programs that we supported to be able, as a value-added access to wraparound services. So some of those wraparound services that we provide is, first and foremost, what we're looking for is to be able to assist individuals in our community with being able to obtain financial stability. And so one of the things that these individuals that are part of our training programs have access to is the ability to work with a financial coach through United Way's Center for Financial Stability. So they work with them one-on-one to be able to assist them in creating a budget and basically doing everything that they need in order to be able to work towards economic stability. individuals also have access to our Mission United. So if we have any veterans that are part of the programs that we support, they have access to Mission United, which works exclusively with the veteran population and can assist them with any matters that they may need help with. We also partner with Legal Services of Greater Miami to be able to provide legal assistance to the individuals that we're supporting. And then we are very blessed that we have a very robust resource network, 2 organizations that are right up here on stage with me. So any other issues that an individual may have, or challenges or barriers that cannot be addressed directly by us, we then can refer them to our extensive resource network to deal with issues such as housing, childcare, homelessness, and food insecurity, as well as potential emergency assistance.
That's great. Thank you, Giselle. And it's true. I think working as a team and with each other, as far as like organizations, and like you was saying, with the profit and nonprofit, organizations to come together, and they're all needed in this attempt to address the needs of the the adult learner. Angeline, please share a little bit about. I'm sorry. I have a specific question for you. In what ways do the wraparound services contribute to a more inclusive and supportive education environment?
Yeah, I think wraparound services are really absolutely critical to creating this inclusive force, right? I think a couple of the panels have talked about, the various ways that we are reaching and addressing the community needs, but really understanding, and I think both of these organizations here do just very well, is understanding what adult learners have different. I think a lot of the focus in a lot of ways in tech has oftentimes been for those students that are coming out. We heard about boot camps and how amazing and how successful those can be for people who are in a situation to be able to take advantage of programs like that. And a lot of the individuals that we work with, a lot of the individuals that I know these programs are trying to reach here are those upskillings, are those reskillings that we talked about, and they have very different needs. We're talking about people who cannot take months or even weeks off of a fully paid job or off of their health insurance to be able to support their families. Wraparound services, that's where we can kind of help people who may not have access or reliable technology. There's programs like Miami Foundation's Miami Connected that we're all able to lean on. Even things like Giselle said, emergency funding. Your electricity is about to be shut off. When we get the opportunity to work with workforce development programs, we have a Women's Success Fund where we can, go to your utility and pay them directly and make sure these are little things that sometimes you think about, but can absolutely make these extremely inaccessible to a potential talent pipeline, to creativity, to individuals and to communities that could really not just benefit from being part of that talent, but also contribute to, there's just so much in Miami. Communities wholesale are being left behind here just based on the development that is going on. And without those wraparound services, we're never going to keep people in Miami. We're not going to be able to bring these opportunities to them and create a truly inclusive workforce.
Great, thank you, Angeline. And I wanted to expand a little bit upon what Angeline was saying to add a little bit more information. But the wraparound services that are usually in need for some of our students include anything from, transportation is usually an issue. So sometimes we provide bus passes or gas cards. Also, food insecurities is another issue. So a lot of our training partners have like food pantries that are accessible to students. And additionally, we, besides the transportation and food, then there's sometimes like emergency funding because there's things come up. So a lot of our partners also provide those type of, last minute financial assistance. And then I wanted to add another element, which I'm not sure if you've touched on, which is another aspect of wraparound services, which has to do more with the technical aspects and the job search aspects. So, and some of our training providers also, have a great, program around resume review, working on your interview skills, working on your LinkedIn and all of that. So all of those actually are part of, like a key part of wraparound service as well. But I had a couple of questions. So, Vigilio, what are the, I guess, the target population? I know you have a wide variety of people that OIC sort of, mostly, the participants.
Absolutely. So we have a women's workforce empowerment program. We have a long-standing reentry program. And we serve, again, close to 2,000 adults. And I have a talent pipeline of about 8,000 young people working both in Broward and Miami-Dade. And again, I'll say, having my background basically in education and workforce, I've done everything from early childhood, elementary, middle, high school, higher ed, workforce. And we see that the needs, basically, in data that I looked at with teams, can happen, basically situations happen at any point. And problems, persist and take just an immense amount of effort to overcome them. And so I think my message here is that it really takes, there's great need, but on the other side of that, there's tremendous opportunity. And so we view the clients that we serve really as an untapped talent pool. It's our role basically is making sure from the equity standpoint that, and with this partnership basically, that everyone we serve has access and awareness to the opportunities. And so proud to basically, by nature I'm introvert, but I'm happy to represent the folks that we serve and to bring awareness and opportunities to them so that they can be piped in. And that's really what this entire initiative is. So proud again to be here.
Great. No, thank you for being here. And I have a question for Angeline. And what are the, obviously coming from the YWCA, I imagine most of your participants or people in need are women, but can you explain a little bit or expand upon that, like what you're seeing as far as the ones that have the most need or challenges?
Absolutely. So yes, we are, like I mentioned, we design all of our programs and do our outreach kind of targeted to women, but all of our programs are actually open to anybody. So we do have a fair amount of representation across genders, across communities in all of our programs. So YWCA over 100 years, we've developed kind of all these different arms. We've got preschools, we've got after-school programs and summer camps. We are doing health screenings and health fairs and education workshops, collaborating with partners like Jackson and Southern Birth Justice Network on Black maternal health. It kind of runs the gamut. We have, our economic prosperity area under which our workforce development and wraparound services kind of fall. So for us, we have kind of two kind of things that we think about is, the people that we're serving currently that come in through our variety of programs, a lot of them tend to be parents, whether they are, mothers, fathers, grandparents, guardians. A lot of them have children. So that is something that we do find a lot in our population. We do find that a lot of them are not native English speakers. So that is something that I think is very common across all of our things. So as much as possible, being able to provide and refer to those wraparound services in people's native languages is a huge way that the nonprofits are really positioned to be able to serve their communities. We do find that some common challenges that I think it sounds kind of similar to what Vigilio was saying, the common challenges that our women face across the board tend to be things that are facing a lot of people. Housing, childcare, transportation, access to health services. So things like that I think are, some of us are, don't have to think about them as much as others, but for other people, these are daily situations, daily decisions that need to be made. And the more that we can, as a community, wrap around those connections and resources to be able for them to concentrate on things like, hey, what's my next step? What is the upcoming industry? What are the opportunities I get to pursue? I think is what the benefit of the wraparound. I kind of call it, I like to think of it as a network. It's not just a service, it's not just a resource, because it is so very much a group and community-wide effort.
Thank you, Angeline. And did you have any of you have any last-minute comments that maybe didn't come out or come up in a question that I asked? Giselle, did you have any last-minute?
Well, it was funny. In all the panels that we've had, there's been one theme that I've heard, and it was something that's incredibly important to us. Obviously, we're supporting individuals that are going to training in order to be able to assist them to be able to move towards a pathway of economic stability and financial stability. But one of the things that's really, really important is the employer. I think that it was said more than once. Employer leadership. So I know one of our panelists said, that they were kind of challenging the employers that were in the room to go back and talk to, your colleagues in other companies that you know of about the importance of investing and being part of this not only this collaborative, but across the board in different industry sectors, to be able to create what I consider to be a smoother pathway for individuals that are in training to be able to transition into really great opportunities. So that's what I would say for me. I'd like as a kind of a last thought.
Thank you, Giselle.
I love that. And I kind of want to just jump off of what you were saying, Giselle, to the employers. Don't think of the wraparound services as something that's just part of the educational experience, right? Because once they get that job, they're still trying to, a lot of the individuals that we're serving that for which this is an opportunity for that to reach that financial stability, to create generational patterns and wealth for their family, those needs don't stop the second they get that job offer. That is where, I would highly encourage the employers to continue engaging with the organizations, with the nonprofit community, because these are the people, once, it's easy to think once you're graduated, you're done. But that's not how we see them, and that's not how their experience and their lived experience is.
That's absolutely true.
Use us.
I'm glad you brought up that last point. And I think we're going to go ahead and end it there because I think our lunch, it's a lunch break, is it? Almost? Oh, one more, sorry. But anyway, we're wrapping up. But thank you so much. You each had such great input. And Angelina, that's a great point that I just did want to reemphasize is that both the academic institutions and the employers should definitely be aware of all the needs that a potential employee might have. And it does continue beyond just the hiring. Thank you so much.